before we get moving on, obviously, to Oregon, which I hope everybody realizes we have to do. Playing another top 5 team on the road is not something we can just dwell upon the things of the past. So we got to be able to move forward. But like I kind of finished with on Saturday night, like, look, everybody, including myself, I would think me more than most. I'm not saying that from the guys in that locker room, are very disappointed in where we are. The way that which we played and our ability to not just score points, but be as competitive as we need to be and want to be and expect to be. And so, I know how everybody feels, and I live it every single day of every minute, and I know guys in that locker room do the same thing. But we got to find ways to continue to push ourselves forward, move forward, find ways to continue to get better. And it's it's everybody's responsibility in this program and in this team. And I'm not shying away from that. Not trying to avoid that and move on. But at some point in time, each and every week, the whole idea is you got to be able to move forward and go to the next step and find ways to continue to push and get better. And a lot of that has to do not just physically with some of the things that we're going through, but also mentally as well. And so to dwell upon all the things that from the past doesn't do us any good, but also if we don't learn from the things of the past, then the chances of continuing to grow and be better are not going to happen. So there's a balance there. I understand that. I hope everybody outside understands that we're not just saying, hey, it is what it is, happened on Saturday and we move on. Like, yeah, we spent all day on Sunday trying to evaluate those things, see how areas that we can get better, and then move on. And so it doesn't get any easier, and I think everybody in this locker room, everybody in this coaching staff, we all understand that. We all understand what the expectations are. They have not been met, and we need to find a way to continue to get to those expectations. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to just happen over, 1 week to the next. There's a lot of things that we're going to have to be able to do to find ways to get a hell of a lot better and fast.
Luke, have you been told you're going to be back next season? Is that a question you'd consider asking just so you can?
No, I don't think any of us have a crystal ball. I've never asked the question. It's not something that I can dwell upon. It's not something that I can't tell you that it's not something that you don't think about. I'm not saying it's something when you go home, your wife doesn't look at you, but it doesn't do us any good, right? It doesn't. It's not going to change the fact that we got to practice tomorrow. It's not going to change the fact of anything on Saturday. I guess you just let everybody else kind of deal with those things. But I have not been told. I'm not worried about that. I mean, I understand, if we don't meet expectations and we don't do the things we need to do, anything can happen.
Coach McIntosh sent out a letter today to fans about just vowing basically increased support. In your estimation, where do you think that needs to come in from the athletic department?
I don't know that that's, for me to answer right at this moment. All of us need support. Right now, our kids need support, right? That's what I do every single day right now. Look, I'm not stopping coaching. I'm not stopping pushing. I'm not stopping being honest. But, more than anything, as you battle through things like this, just like any of us have in our lives, like you need support. And right now, the most important support's inside that locker room and making sure building these guys up and their confidence to be able to go out and play the game of football and the things that they love, and remember why they're doing it. And obviously, when you don't win, that's very difficult. But my job is not to worry about where the support's going to come in the future. My job is to make sure that, most importantly, that we can support the guys right now, in this moment, in these opportunities, and find ways to grow and be better and get better.
To sort of piggyback off that, I guess I'm curious, in this age, how do you know you have enough support? And how quickly, from a financial standpoint, and how quickly is that sort of changing, just from what you're seeing?
I'm not sure what I wasn't going to address like the support of the future, right? I mean, I don't know, right? I don't know that anybody knows in college football what all that means. That's probably one of the most unique things in college football today is what is support and what does it look like. And I guess in some ways, where does it come from and how does it come? But for us now, in the immediacy of the now, the thing is, how do we have support for those guys in that locker room? How do our coaches feel support for, hey, going out there and battling every single day and every single week? And that comes from me. I don't know that there's anybody outside of, our locker room, our offices that, can give you some support that's going to be different, that's going to affect anything that happens on Saturday. So I'm not trying to avoid the questions of that. I mean, I think that there are so many things that are unknown of what that looks like as we continue to move forward. For me and for what it is that we're doing, I mean, how can you focus past anything but what Saturday brings? And how can we, for me, focus anything past what Tuesday brings and my chance and our opportunities to make sure that the guys that are going to be out there representing us in all shapes, fashions, forms, offense, defense, special teams, we're supporting them in the best way possible right now in this moment.
John, Steve.
It's kind of off the subject, but you talked after the game Saturday about how good that Ohio State receiving core is. I'm just wondering, I think like 7 of the top 20-something receivers in the country, according to receiving yards per game, are Big Ten guys. You've been in the conference for a while. Just how much stronger is the quality of receivers across the league?
Well, the old school version of what the Big Ten was, right, was just running the football and big physical guys, and everything down south was about athleticism and speed. I think that everybody's starting to realize that that's not the case, right? I'm not saying that there's more in the Big Ten than there is in the SEC, but I think that what we see and we have seen on a consistent basis is it's as good as you get, and there's more NFL talent, and maybe even in the wide receiver pool in the Big Ten than there is any other position, which I don't know if you could ever have said that, in the last 100 years. But I think that's where we're seeing the evolution of what this game is and where we got to continue to grow to be competitive in that way. I didn't know all those stats though, but that doesn't surprise me.
Luke, you talked about the frustration of being shut out last week. You had a chance to kick a field goal at the end of the game. What was kind of the calculus there? I know it doesn't really, it doesn't matter.
No, I don't know. I mean, to try to stop a record from 1977 where you've had 2 games that are scoreless. Look, you get questioned if you don't use your timeouts before the end of the half. You get questioned if you don't use your timeouts at the end of the game. You get questioned if you don't kick a field. I mean, everything's in question, and I understand that. I don't know that there's an exact and a right answer, other than keep playing, find a way. I mean, we could have called timeouts to see if we could get more opportunities to get the ball in the end zone. I didn't feel like it was the time that was going to keep us out of the end zone. It was our ability to execute. We're going to run out of downs before we're going to run out of time, so we didn't use timeouts. I don't know that kicking the field goal was in the cards. The idea we got the ball back is guys go score. And I don't mean kick a field goal. I meant let's keep finding ways to pound the football or see if we can get the ball down the field.
There's a shot of you coming off the field Saturday, and I'm guessing fans were saying stuff to you.
No.
You kind of did this. I don't want to interpret anything. I thought that you explained kind of what you meant by that.
Did you see that, or did somebody else?
It's on mine.
Oh, okay. Wait, everything's on.
Somebody got it.
You know what? It's nothing more than I hear you. Blame me, put it on me. More than anything, I want them to support the kids that are out there. Right? I mean, those are the peers. I know that, maybe at some point in time we don't look at them, whether it's students, whether it's fans, as they are their peers, but they are. And if anything, it's guys, blame me, put it on me. I can handle it. I understand. I recognize the situation that we're in. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It is what it is. But it's just one of those things that, more so than anything, to say, look, I understand. I hear you. Not to say I like it, but I mean, heck, it's a part of the game. So it's more that than anything else. Maybe hopefully they recognize that what they do say is heard. Don't know that it needs to be a response to, but I in some ways, hey, now they know that I do hear them, and there is a response that, hey, I understand. Put it on me because I'm the one who's to blame.
Luke, I'm not saying this week's the best week to think about this, but you had talked about kind of building around some of the younger guys, and just with quarterback in general. How is Carter Smith looking?
Well,
and just
I don't know. We'll
how-
see. We'll see like some opportunities on Tuesday to see if it's possible. It's kind of like kicking a field goal at the end of the game, Mike, right? I mean, everybody can ask and question and try to figure out what's best. That's the same question I get at my own home. So I understand. There's an opportunity for everybody in the program now to, earn a chance to go out there. Carter could be one of them. We got to be able to see, but we got to be able to see some things on a Tuesday and Wednesday, because to support the guys in that locker room, you also got to do what the guys in this locker room see and can believe in. And to just put somebody out there, I'm not saying Carter doesn't deserve the opportunity. I'm not saying anybody doesn't deserve the opportunity. Cooper Catalano is another freshman guy that's playing a lot of ball that maybe gets more opportunities this week. Like, it has a lot to do with making sure you can maintain the respect of that locker room and knowing that those guys know everything. They know how guys handle their business. They know how guys work, and they know what they want to play with and be beside. Whether it's going to give them the best opportunity to win or not, they got a better grasp sometimes than I can assure you than anybody outside the locker room.
You've said at various times this season, whether it's a specific game or just what this team's going through, you're experiencing some things perhaps you haven't experienced before as a coach. I know we're asking you a lot of big picture questions, but how difficult is it for you personally to avoid some of the pitfalls that come with what's happening externally?
Well, I've always said, I live under a rock. I don't allow the things to affect me externally. It's not easy. I mean, we're human too, and we got families, and it's a part of the game. We understand that. In some ways, you always say we know what we signed up for. Sometimes you don't realize what it is that you signed up for too. But to sit here and say that it's not difficult, I'd be lying, right? Is it easy for me to handle? No, but it's a hell of a lot easier for me to handle than probably some others. Whether it's your family and the things that they go through, the coaches and what they have to go through as well. We get the opportunity, for me, to be honest with you, to come in here on Sunday morning and really not be able to hear a whole lot or see a whole lot all the way until Thursday, when maybe you see the light of day. So that does make it a little bit easier than it does for even our own kids. But just to say I don't hear and recognize it, I would be completely lying.
Coach, I'm guessing you're always, looking for different ways to help this team, but in the midst of all this, are there any concrete changes you've made maybe during the week or on game days to try and maybe just get this team to respond the way you want to, or maybe game plan wise to help turn this thing around?
Yeah, there's some simplification of things, because if you're going to play with some younger guys, you gotta do the things that they're able to do, whether that's offensively and defensively. By nature, there's some things we've had to do and are going to have to continue to do to change as the way we practice, just with the amount of injuries and some things that we have to be able to go through. Don't get me wrong, from the way we warm up for a game to the way that the time we go out, all those things are being evaluated. But like you said, probably the most important thing is just what does the support look like inside that locker room? Can you sit next to the guys after practice? Can you sit next to the guys, after the game? I mean, just to be around them, to more than anything. I don't know that there's, something we can change. Like, well, maybe if we practice on Monday and not on Sunday, or practice, change up our Thursday practice as opposed to, I don't know that those are things that are going to bring anything more to our guys other than, hey, where's the support? Do they feel like, even though they maybe aren't making the plays they want to make or play in the way that they want to play, are they still supported in a way that they feel like they can continue to grow and push?
Hey, Coach. For going back to the Chris McIntosh statement, is it reassuring to see his full support to you, and how big of that support does it play in players' minds, and maybe not having to question who their coach will be at the end of the day or at the end of the week? No,
all support is good support, right? I mean, obviously, as you go through these things, and I think that for me is one thing. He didn't have to put a letter out for me to know. I think obviously for a lot of others to know, but having honest conversations with him throughout this entire process is something that keeps me in the right frame of mind and the right headspace, right? I mean, we've asked about the different things that are swirling out there and whatever it is. Yeah, it affects you, but when you got to a guy you trust, a guy that's you call a friend that obviously can sit down and have some conversations with you and know where you are. It helps. There's no doubt for our guys and our program and our team. Like I said, it's recognizing and seeing and understanding the support, and all those things are things that help. Now, are they evident or do they show? I mean, that's where playing the game and playing better is something that ultimately gives us the opportunity for people to recognize and to see what that looks like. But no, I mean, there's never been a waiver here, like of knowing who's got your back. In the midst of, we all have the same expectations. Chris McIntosh and I can talk honestly and openly about where we are and where we've made mistakes and things like that. And for me, that's probably the healthiest thing I got going.
Coach, in the past few games, you guys were pretty balanced on first down. This past week, you guys ran the ball 80% of the time, but got under 2 yards per carry on those. Was there something that you saw this week, or
Is that PFF, or did you figure that one?
I figured it out myself.
Oh, yeah, that's good. We might get you into the stats group with us. Side job for you.
When it makes it tougher on second and third down, do you feel like there needs to be maybe more balance on first down?
Yeah, I mean, it's kick a field goal at the end of the game. It's, what do you do on first down? I think that, all those things are things that we continue to look at, right? I mean, it's not like we don't evaluate after the game exactly what it is that we did on every down and distance. Do we become predictable? Yes. We expect to get more, whether we're running it at 75% of the time on first down, more than 2 yards. But we also knew that there was a plan in place, right? And keeping ourselves out of third and longs are really important. And no 2 yards and then 2 yards and then 2 yards is probably not going to get it done. But recognizing we are a little bit better on those third and medium situations, as opposed to putting yourself in the third and long situation. So there's a balance there. No matter what, you got to be a hell of a lot more efficient. Everybody talks about third down, and that's the most important down. It's money down. Truth of the matter is, first down is money down. First down puts you in the driver's seat on where you are and what predictability that you have moving forward. And so as much as anything, the focus of trying to be on track on first down is even more important to us than where we are, in a lot of different other areas.
Jesse and then John.
Another question about the offense in general. It ranks among the bottom in the country, and I'm wondering for you, realistically, what do you think can be done to change this, and what will give you confidence that anything will be different here in the next several weeks?
You know what? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's things each and every week that, look, if we can't find a way to establish, some run game, and give our guys an opportunity to not be in 2nd and 8, whether that's throwing the football or running the football, it's going to be tough. I know we have to take some more shots down the field. That's a simple thing to say. You want those to be, at least somewhat of higher percentage shots than just, I'd say 50-50 balls, but sometimes 50-50 balls might be a better situation. But I don't know that there's any quick fix, to be honest with you. We all know that, the balance at the quarterback and who's playing quarterback and the consistency at that position is the easiest thing to point to. But I don't know that there's a lot of changes that are going to happen at that spot right now. So try to find what that best lineup is up front to give those guys a chance, to put us in situations where it's not 2nd and 8. It's going to be a grind. Let's just be honest, right? It's going to be a grind, and we got to be equipped. We got to be willing to embrace the grind of what that's going to look like to generate more offense opportunities, to make some changes, whether that's personnel changes at times or that's just a way that we got to go about finding ways to get the ball down the field.
John, then Cole.
You were mentioning at the beginning about not dwelling on these
Yeah.
losses, but it's been a while since you've been the power conference team. How do you sustain that, or how do you sustain a winning culture when you're not winning games against equal
No,
opponents?
that's not something that's very easy, right? I mean, I don't know why it matters on who you win against. Obviously you can point out the obvious. That's, kind of like, and you can look up PFF and they can give you things that are exact. The truth of the matter is winning promotes winning, and confidence comes with having success. And regardless of who that success is against, right now, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to keep guys in the right frame of mind. And that's why I said it's about support. You know, it's not easy to walk in and see it in the eyes when you're, you know, standing in front of the team or whatever it is. But how do you continue to provide support? Because you don't win every game. You know, yes, you like to win more than you lose, but there's a way that say, hey, there's people that build a lot more trust in you when things aren't good to see how you handle things. And that's probably one of the things I said to the team as we left on Sunday is, you know, this stinks and where we are and what we've got to continue to battle through. But I promise you this, that you're going to know a hell of a lot more about the guys that are around you right now for the future of your life than you ever will in any good situation. And if you're going to have the best friends you're ever going to have, you're going to have people that are going to support you the rest of your life. At least that's what I'm used to in college football. You're going to know who those are. You're not going to have to wonder when you walk out of the program as to who you could pick up the phone 10, 12, 15 years from now and call, and they'll always be there. It's a little bit more obvious and evident when you go through tough times.
Like you mentioned on Saturday, the maybe changing the protocol or the way that Billy ramped up, and I know it's early in the week, but did that maybe work or you responded?
I don't know that we didn't do nearly as much with him later in the week. You know, that's one of those things. As we get to Tuesday, we were trying to say, hey, let's don't do too much, and then figure out where we are on Tuesday. So we don't know right now. We're hoping that it's better, and we got to continue to figure that out. But that's one of those things. He said, what can make a change and give you a change? Well, that could be one, but just don't know when it's going to be available to us.
Luke, I want to get your thoughts on you know, Riley's transition from the right to the left side and at tackle, and is that been maybe a little tougher than you guys thought it would be, and what stands out to you when you're watching him work?
No, you know what? Not playing the position, not coaching the position, not being as much on the offensive side of the ball. Like, obviously, as the head coach, you have to have a grasp of everything. But I don't truly know that that's that big of a difference. I know that people say left tackle and right tackle are different, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse to say, hey, you know, would it be better if he was back on the other side? I think more than anything up front, guys just got to continue to find confidence in what they're doing. You know, we've got to find ways to have our best players play their best ball. And whether that's the left side or the right side, that's something that you would have to ask Riley, to be honest with you. I have a high expectation for Riley. I don't think I would expect him to play any different on the left side or the right side. I wouldn't expect to have any difference in what, you know, we know of him and what he can do, that if tomorrow we switched him back over to the other side. Like, he's a veteran football player that has to have the ability to have some flexibility. And, you know, if you want to play at the next level, your ability to be flexible is going to be really, really important. And I had a buddy that once told me that there was only one guy on their team that didn't have position flexibility, and that was their quarterback. Everybody else, to play at that level, had to have position flexibility. And I hope that, you know, that's one of those things that Riley is gaining a lot from, is the ability to play left or right.
Jake. Luke, I know it's a little bit kind of a deeper question, but when you got here in November of 22, obviously the game's changed, but just...
The game hasn't changed. The game's still about the guys up front being physical, and the game hasn't changed since 19 whatever.
Right, or college football, maybe I should say.
There you go.
Yeah.
The landscape.
Yeah, landscape. But just within that, in terms of developing players, is it harder now with the transfers coming?
Yeah,
in,
this
and
is a
then
deep
players?
question. This is a long answered question, but the answer is yes. It's different.
Is there a way to dive a little bit into it?
It's really difficult to play at a young age in this league, and the maturity, the size, the speed is different. And for young players that all want to play, coming into this league, if they're not more developed, meaning, you know, the truth of the matter, 4-star, 5-star, it's really difficult. And so your ability to grow over 2 or 3 years is going to continue to be and has been a lot more difficult, I believe, in college football the last few years.
Look, I ask you about this every couple of weeks, but Nyzier Fourqurean continues to wait. What does his week look like? Does he able to practice with you guys, or how does that kind of work out for you guys as you continue to wait for?
So I'm not going to talk a ton about Nyzier's situation, but he does. He does everything he can during the week. But scout team and different things like that, he's been mixed around in some things just to fill some gaps. But it's been very difficult for him.
Good there. Steve, one more? Yep.
Just following up on Jake's question, will that have, assuming you are back next year, will that have to change the way you do your roster construction in the offseason?
I think
in
that,
terms of what you-
yeah, there's definitely some things that you got to continue to evolve with college football and the way that you construct a roster. You know, we don't know what kind of rules, if any, are ever going to be implemented and put into place. But I think definitely the way that you construct a roster, what I believed was the right way 3 years ago, is definitely different now and will continue probably to be different as we move forward.
Okay.
So as I do end, I will just bring up Nyzier. I didn't want it to deflect from the truth and the things that we needed to be able to hit, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that, like, the thing that keeps me motivated more than anything, just so you guys are aware, is the kids in that locker room and doing everything I can and we can to give them the opportunities to be successful, because that's what our job is and that's what keeps me motivated. And to see what has happened with Nyzier is a shame. Okay, and so it's been in federal court now for a few months. I don't want to go through the timeline of what I had here, but our judge, Judge Conley, somewhere in the federal courts here, in my opinion, has had over 2 months to give this kid a decision. It's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back over and over and over again, none less by the NCAA doing their due diligence. But to not have the guy give the kid an answer for 2 months, he has crushed the potential of this kid. And you know, I love Nyzier, and I'm not saying that I'm speaking for Nyzier, but it is as disappointing as something I've been around a long time. And when he was even told by the guy that he was going to give him an answer during the bye week, and again, the kid has nothing. So, not saying he's where he should rule. That's not my point. But to sit on something for a couple months, unacceptable.